friends from the media here. I was not sure when Georgie some days ago invited me for this. I was not very sure what is the purpose of this kind of a meeting, this kind of a gathering. Who are the members of the audience? Are they students? Are they younger members from the media organizations? Are they members from the public? I didn't have an organization. I didn't have an explanation, an understanding of this. But today, as Georgie spoke, he gave a completely different perspective of why he has organized it. We are a very small group. Probably what I speak here today, I think you should be very familiar with that, because that's the nature of the audience here. I still hope that probably what I say here is of some use. In any case, before that outset, I want to congratulate Georgie, because he wants to celebrate this milestone. 25 years in the profession. Congratulations to him. Now coming to the topic which I have to speak here today. Regional champions, regional media is a rarity in today's India. In some ways, probably that is true, but I think we need to really understand, probably when we go deeper in India, many times, we draw this distinction, it's a regional media and national media. To be very honest, till today, I have not understood what the distinction is between a regional media and a national media, unless you are talking in terms of vernacular press and English press. Because by its very definition, the reach of vernacular press is very limited. It is in the confines of the geographical area where the language is spoken. Whereas English is not like that. English is essentially an urban language in this country, spoken by the elite in the urban area. So in that sense, I really think that the regional term belongs to the vernacular press. And as far as the English press is concerned, I think it would be more appropriate to say they are urban newspapers. Basically, the newspapers of our cities. Not really national in the sense, because you are excluding the entire rural India from it. So that way, I have this problem, I have worked in Delhi for many years. Everybody who works in Delhi thinks that he works for a national media. Every newspaper that, comes out from Delhi, they think they are the national media. Everybody, outside, be it Calcutta or be it in Bangalore or Chennai, they are all regional media, whether English or, whichever language. So that way, this distinction is very artificial, which is not very realistic, doesn't reflect the true situation. Yet, probably, this has been sort of understood in the sense that, traditionally, English language newspapers in India basically were city-centric. If you take any newspaper, they are identified with cities. Statesman, it's a Calcutta newspaper. Its identity is Calcutta. Deccan Herald, its identity is Bangalore. Hindustan Times, identity is Delhi. Tribune, nobody thinks of Tribune in Calcutta. Tribune is associated with, Chandigarh. Times of India, if you think of 1970s and 80s, in fact, even early 80s, the Times of India was essentially a Bombay paper. In fact, I used to get copies in Mangalore when I was a lecturer way back in 1981. People used to think in Mangalore, in our college, they say it's a Marwadi paper from Bombay. It may be very uncharitable, but that was how it was described. So if you really look at it, our English newspapers were basically city-centric newspapers. But then, we have seen the forces of change. Technology is one such. Economics is another. So you have, this force of change coming in. Some newspapers saw this, that in this force of change, there is an opportunity to grow, there is an opportunity to make money, there is an opportunity to reach out to larger audience in the country. So those who saw that early and those who had capital to invest, capital also incidentally was a force of change when these things happened. So that is when they started growing beyond their traditional city limits. So you have Times of India first going from Mumbai to Delhi. You have Hindu going from its traditional confine in Chennai to other places, other cities. So this way, these Hindustan Times started moving out of Delhi to Calcutta, to Bombay, to other places. Mind you, all big cities, not small cities. Because integration started happening because of this force of change. Integration started happening first among big cities, not small cities. So it was necessary for Times of India, from the point of view of its business expansion, to be in Delhi, to be in Calcutta, to be in Bangalore, to be in Hyderabad, because they're all big cities. So you prioritize where you should go. Others followed. Hindustan Times followed. Hindu did that. Express did that much before in a much, much different way, in a smaller way also. And you would have seen much smaller entities doing that much later. You have seen Deccan Chronicle doing that. You have seen Tribune in Delhi in Chandigarh doing that. They went to Delhi and they went to Srinagar. In our own way, Deccan Herald did that. We did that in 2011. We experimented. We went out of our confines in Bangalore. We went to Delhi. So this way, you have seen over the last probably about now 3 decades, these changes have taken place. Cities have integrated much, much faster, much stronger. Cities have really become cosmopolitan because of this integration. That is movement of labor force, movement of human beings, movement of for job. So that is what has brought about this integration. And because of this integration, because of the change, this integration has brought about very, very rapid change in the urban areas, in cities, in the population profile of these cities. So success started to be defined in terms of growth of newspapers. So somebody who has presence in 5 big cities would say, we are the truly national newspaper. Then what happened? You have what we call smaller cities, tier 2 cities started growing. It could be Nagpur, it could be Pune, it could be Ahmedabad. Bhopal started newspapers started moving to those places. Because again, those smaller cities started joining this urban integration process in the country. Because English newspapers, urban, it's an urban phenomena, so they started moving there. Interestingly, there also, I'll give one example. A city like Surat, very interesting study. In the last, if you take 30 years, maybe 20-year period would be a better yardstick. I think no city has grown like Surat in terms of population growth. No city. It has overtaken many, many cities which were smaller, say, in 1990. I think today probably the population of Surat is around 40 lakhs. And the way it is growing, probably maybe another 20 years' time, probably it might compete with the Ahmedabad in terms of population. Yet, no big newspaper has really, woken up and said, okay, look, we are missing an opportunity in Surat. We must go there, start our edition. Nobody has done that. Because the growth of Surat is entirely different from, say, growth of Pune, growth of, say, Bangalore or Hyderabad. Completely different because it's basically labor. not white collar. The growth of their city is because of the labor class, people working in diamond, business and all that. So people have not gone there. So English newspaper, there is no rush of English newspapers to publish from a place like Surat. Yeah, whatever small requirement is there, we can supply it from Bombay. We don't have to be publishing from Surat. We don't have to have a separate edition from Surat. So this way, things have, forces of change have brought about change way, English newspapers in India think or operate. With that, if we can introduce an element of regionalism there, this is where it comes in. As I told you, the nature, the composition of population is urban centers has changed. Because of which we, for example, the best example, my own experience, we in Bangalore, we think that, look, Bangalore of 1980s and Bangalore of 2015 are different. It's much, much more cosmopolitan. In fact, there was one survey which said that Bangalore has the largest foreign workers in the country, more than Bombay or more than Delhi. That is the kind of profile. We don't have accurate, results, but I would think that probably now, in the since the economic reforms, particularly since the late 90s, probably about 40% of the population, inbound population to Bangalore probably is from the northern states. So we think that, here in Bangalore, the English readers are not really, not so much Kannadigas. They are much more, they are from outside. They could be from Bengal, they are from Delhi, they are from Chandigarh, they are from everywhere. So we really need to think like the way, we need to, as English newspaper, we need to really cater to them. We don't have to cater to, Malleshwaram is not Bangalore any longer. Basavanagudi is not Bangalore any longer. We need to think big. We need to think, Bangalore exists in Whitefield. It's a complete area that has come up. You go to Whitefield, not many people speak Kannada. So that is the population. And which is why we think, the perception is that other newspapers have grown. Say, for example, the growth of Times of India in Bangalore is directly attributed to this phenomenon. And it's actually borne by facts in the sense, say you take Basavanagudi, probably Deccan Herald circulation would be, out of 100 could be 60. Other newspapers combined circulation probably could be 40. Now you go to Marathahalli, it could be 85 others and 15 Deccan Herald. How do you explain this? Which is why for many years now, Hindustan Times, they really think that they have missed the Bangalore opportunity. Because there are many readers who come into Bangalore not with the, say Times of India reading habit. They come here with, maybe they were our readers. Because they don't get Hindustan Times here, they would go for, they are able to identify themselves with Times of India as the second best or the more familiar. So this way, it's completely the way we think about what the content should be. We are not, therefore, this paper probably is not really serving, or our readers are not really Kannadigas. Probably the English readers could be maybe 60% are outsiders. They may not be interested in what is happening in Davangere. Well, they would be interested in bigger things, and that's what we presume. And accordingly, we produce. This is one aspect. Editorially, that's how we think. That's how, not only here in Bangalore, elsewhere also they think. Interestingly, if you see, very fascinating. If you look at Hindu is extremely defensive about its Chennai origins, now in Chennai. They don't want to be known as, we are a Chennai paper. They want to be known as a national paper. Traditionally, if you see last 20 years, If you read Hindu's Chennai edition, it doesn't have anything about, if you want to understand Tamil Nadu politics, please don't read Hindu. That's not a paper to understand. I feel that it's a choice. Choice could be because of different reasons, but I think choice is also because of this reason. And then, this is what editorially we think. We also as journalists think that what is of interest to readers. If you have seen, John Thomas would be able to relate to it better, or people, long timers in Bangalore. I used to come, once in a while I used to visit Bangalore. The kind of eateries that Bangalore used to provide in the 1980s, the kind of eateries that it provides now, it's completely different, completely different. Sometimes I think that, I need to have those 80s kind of hotels, go and eat their dosa. Sometimes I have to go right up to, there is one restaurant called Chandrika, somewhere in the corner. I feel that is the Bangalore I am associated with 1980s. It's completely changed. So this is as far as we are concerned, as editors, as journalists we are concerned. We actually think that, okay, this is what is required. But there is a bigger change that has come about. Today, newspapers, English newspapers are no longer editor-driven. If anybody thinks that it's editor-driven, I think they need to really, look into it very deeply, why it is. Today, it is driven by market. Your owners, your managers, they eventually want their yardstick for success is, okay, at the end of the year, what is the revenue? Has my revenue increased? Have my margins gone up? Or they still, the bottom line is very, very, very low. They want that. So then, okay, you think, how can I increase my circulation? Okay, your paper is not selling because, you don't cater to, you don't understand your readers. You don't know who your readers are. That's why you're not selling. And if you cannot sell, how will you make money? How will advertisers come to you? Advertisers will not come to you. So increasingly, this kind of a logic which works within the organization has meant that today managers have taken over the editorial control in a way rests with the managers. I am not saying day to day they come and say that this should be the lead, this should be the second lead, this should be the story, this should be knocked off. I am not saying that. But broad guidelines are becoming stronger and stronger. You are subjected to periodic reviews. Okay, this half yearly we have not done well because you didn't have content. The content doesn't appeal. How can you sell this paper in the Martha early? If the content is about whatever, all those things. So eventually what's happened is you are under pressure. You as a journalist, you are under editor. As a reporter, you are told what to file, what kind of stories we are interested. I have come across journalism students, you ask them a question, many of them, they think that, okay, we should be the agents of change. They think the same way they used to think 25 years ago. We are the ones, we'll expose this, we'll do that, all those things. Okay. And they come here for 2 months, they think that they have been completely exposed. Many of them get disillusioned. Many of them get disillusioned. So then they look for, okay, is there any newspaper where, it's ideology driven, ideals driven and all that, There are many people out of frustration, out of disappointment, they do those kind of things. This is not my cup of tea. So, really what is of interest? Is there a way of, as a newspaper in Bangalore, what should be the content of an English newspaper? You might say that, yes, we must focus on farmers' distress. We must focus on other issues. We must, our newspaper should reflect the environment in which we live, including city, its problems and all those things. No, don't talk about BBMP. They are big advertisers. You are very, very quietly told that, look, we have our interest. It's not done in a very blatant way, but over a period of time, one understands what can be done, what cannot be done. I am not saying this any particular newspaper, or without exception, every newspaper does it today. Eventually, that influences that because there is tremendous pressure on revenues. Today, tell me, if we go with the a 5 rupee coin to the marketplace, what can we buy? Tell me, if I'll give you 5 rupees. Honestly, if you give 5 rupees to a beggar, he makes faces. He just doesn't like. But we are selling a newspaper for 5 rupees. It doesn't even have Raddi value, if you say so. How can you sell a newspaper for 5 rupees? But we are selling. We are selling because the rest, the balance you make from ad revenue, advertising revenue. So there is tremendous pressure on getting advertising revenue. Now, advertising revenue is not the same situation that, in 1990s, I remember John Thomas those days, he used to be my boss those days. At 3:30, he would say, no, we have increased this section from 4 pages to 8 pages. We need another 2 copies from Delhi. We have to deliver. Basically, they were driven. Suddenly, more advertisements have come. They have to accommodate those advertisements. So there was a time when, advertisements. Today, it's not the case. Today, you have to go and get advertisement. It's very, very tough. Not only because competition among newspapers has increased, but the ratio of advertisement coming into newspapers have reduced. They are reducing very dramatically. They are going into television. They are going into digital. So there is pressure. So as a result, what has happened, editorially, we need to make so many assumptions what succeeds, what doesn't. It is not driven by the merit of the news. It is driven by commercial concern. It's driven eventually by what sells and what doesn't sell. Our definition of that, our assessment of what sells and what doesn't sell. And newspapers, English newspapers being essentially urban, it has no place for Mandya or Mysore, or it doesn't have a place. So you will talk about fashion shows in Bangalore, those kind of things. Many times we exaggerate because that sells, we think. We run a campaign around that. People from outside, many times we think that, okay, things happen in Delhi. Delhi is a crime capital, extremely insecure. So much so, I have seen people think that Delhi, it's very unsafe. How do we go there? And reality is different. It's not that unsafe, what you think. Sitting here, for example, the 80s, we said nobody would venture to Punjab because of militancy. We traveled there. It's okay. There is a risk, element of risk is there, but it's not that, you cannot travel at all. But the impression goes out that, you go there, you'll be killed. Militants will kill you. Terrorists will kill you. Those kind of things. Exaggeration. So, this topic of regional, English newspapers are, rarity. Yes, where is the place for this kind of things? It's not the priority. When it is market driven, when it is commercial success driven, then considerations become market, considerations become commercial. So there is little and little space for, if you want to say regional. Region, I would really think not just about the city, but around the real India. So what English newspapers have done is that, cities are integrated and they also have got integrated into these cities. Some of them successful, some of them not so successful, but even those who are not so successfully integrating, they have not abandoned and they have, gone back to their old, ways. So that way, the real situation is that, it is the forces of change that have brought about these things. And I would really not think that they were truly regional earlier, and certainly they are not regional now. Reasons are different. Thank you.
My question is, we all know that these issues are quite difficult. So do you think, what is the way out, do you think, for print journalism? How are they going to cater to all these varying needs? How are they going to carve out a new identity for themselves?
I don't know whether we really wish to give a new identity in terms of being a P. Sainath or of being a Siddhartha Vadarajan, advocacy. basically. I feel that's another extreme. Basically, what somebody like me, who thinks is that, as a journalist, I am not told what I should do or what I should not do. Okay, I'm given a field, I'm given an area. And in that area, I should work to the best of my abilities, sincerely, honestly. And stories, I don't know what kind of stories would come. So, I wish that I know what is going to happen in my beat tomorrow. I do not know. But today, the business-driven journalism is that I should know what I should be doing tomorrow. I have to be very honest. Tomorrow's schedule in some newspapers are discussed today. I can understand to the extent that you are doing some exclusives. But then, you are told, no, you must. What news meeting at 9:30 in the morning? There are many newsrooms where morning news meetings happen at 9:30. Honestly, tell me, what news meeting can you have? Unless you are going to, sit here and rehash that Sridevi has died of heart attack in Dubai last night, sitting here, you write? You can write a obituary piece sitting in Bangalore, but how she died, what happened, and all that, you have to be in Dubai. But I don't think today's journalism has much patience or resources for that kind of journalism. So, if you have those kind of ideals, it's difficult. Go like a tailor, measurements are given, stitch the cloth, take your money, go home in the evening. Yes. Innovations might be required. You must understand what are the fashion trends all over the world. Okay. You must catch the new jargons. All those things are important. You have to be real.
This is Vidya. So you were talking about ad revenues and that people are resorting to television and digital media. But our observation is that news portals, digital media is not making any revenue in terms of advertisements. So if digital media is not making revenue, people do not want to advertise in newspapers. I mean, where do we see a way forward?
Digital media is not making money as of now. That is true, but we don't know the future. One, two, which digital? Can you count the number of digital media? It's so diverse. I can count how many publications there in Bangalore, print publications. If I have to ask a question, how many digital websites are available in Bangalore? What is that any answer? Anybody has an estimate? How many news portals can I access sitting in Bangalore?
News portals can be accessed anywhere.
Isn't it? So, what is the extent of competition for ad revenue in a digital media?
That's why you don't get.
That is so spread out, so spread out. So, which is why probably if you see now, there is also a trend. Okay, I specialize on just this. It's like your community newspapers. There is community digital space also happening. They're trying. If they can attract very local advertisements onto those platforms. But otherwise, yes, it's going. Certainly, it's not the same. I think probably there was a time when 85% ads are in the newspapers. But today, it's just about 40%. It's going elsewhere. So there is a difference.
I have one.
Yeah.
You said that many newspapers were earlier associated with particular cities, like HT for Delhi, Times of India for Mumbai, and then they branched out to other cities. On the other hand, newspapers which were strongly associated with particular cities, you no longer can find a regional flavor in those newspapers. You gave one example also from Chennai. Can a newspaper decide that we are not going to make any attempt to be national? We are profitable, we are strong, we will be associated with this city, we will stay there. Is that an option, or is it inevitable that they should try to spread out? That is my question.
It's like a political party saying, come what may, I'll be very honest. I'll run a very honest government. Let others do. I'll fight and win. It's a big risk that, I don't think anybody would take that risk. If others are corrupt, if the others win elections by spending money, I have to do that way. It's very difficult for one to be different unless, you decide that, okay, I will not be dependent on advertising revenue. I will charge my newspaper 15 rupees per copy. Okay. Can you do that? Yeah, it's possible. If you say, I will sell my newspaper for 15 rupees, I don't require ad. I am not dependent on anybody. Okay, George, come and buy my newspaper. John, you come and buy newspaper. Buy because I am being very honest. We really can't. We have to make so many compromises. We are not able to give you the right kind of content. Okay, please pay for the newspaper. How many will, if I sell my newspaper in Bangalore today for 15 rupees, to be very honest, how many will buy? It's very difficult. It's very difficult. It's like Coffee Day selling coffee for 100 and what rupees, but they have priced it so much, they don't need to have mass circulation. So can I have a newspaper which doesn't depend on mass circulation, which means I will sell a newspaper for 100 rupees. Today, people don't even access news from newspapers. You buy a newspaper, okay, I'll also buy a newspaper. But otherwise, honestly, in my case, I access newspaper through my mobile. So newspaper that way becomes a habit. Okay, maybe I will just reconfirm. I'll just see, okay, what I have seen yesterday, on the website, is there in the newspaper? Is it there? Is that the focus? Maybe just to cross-check. Then maybe some people might be interested in discount sales and all that. That could be. If you're buying a house, probably you would want to. Even for that, now you have digital platforms where all those information is available. But things are, it's difficult. I can hypothetically say that, take Pakistan, for instance. Pakistan is the largest English newspaper. There is Dawn. Karachi is a huge city. Karachi is a city. I think population is almost like Bombay. Almost touching 20 million. Their Dawn newspaper sells only about 130,000 copies. The largest circulated newspaper in Pakistan. They sell the newspaper for 19 rupees. I believe that is one reason. If 19 rupees, people may not be interested. Then they will at 5 rupees, I will not think whether I should buy, not buy. I will not look at the cost. Okay, chalo, let it also be there. Second paper, okay, and be there. Okay, but the moment it's 19 rupees, you will think, is it really worth? Not that whether you can afford or not, but is it really worth? People think like, is it really worth? I can afford to pay 1,000 rupees to a beggar, but do I pay? I can afford. I can pay 100 beggars a day, 1,000 rupees each. But do I pay? In fact, more money, less you pay. If more money, because then you think that, I should not pay. A poor man, he is liberal in, paying the beggar because he understands their problem.
Okay, a lot of people want to, finding it difficult to make the transition from the traditional paper, physical paper, to the digital paper. Now, the e-paper is kind of an exercise to address that transition. Now, a lot of people have e-paper, which the same look and feel, but you can't hold it. It's on the computer screen. Now, Hindu has tried the subscription model, and I don't know how far they're making money out of it, but rest of the country, all the other newspapers have kept it free. Is this going to change?
I don't think as long as others do it, Hindu has done it because in England, in UK, Guardian has done it. Okay. And I have not seen Guardian getting that kind of and Guardian is saying that, okay, pay us, donate to do honest journalism. This is not you're not going to go any distance by saying that, okay, I'll be very honest, but please give me donations. To make me honest, all of you will have to give me money. That is a very tedious route. Can you sustain on your own without depending on others and be honest? It's possible. But otherwise, I don't think that model, yes, Guardian has done it, but it's not successful. I have many times tried to visit Guardian for a particular newspaper. I gave up. I said, doesn't matter. It's not earth-shaking that I can't get it elsewhere. Can Guardian give me something which is not available anywhere? Then I have to go there. That dependency will be there. But nobody has convinced me that Guardian gives me something which is not available anywhere in the world. So then why do you, okay, then if somebody is habituated to that, okay, out of habit, if you, wants to pay and all that, it's okay. But otherwise, see, eventually you want news. Whether you get it from Guardian.com or you get it from Deccan.com or Times Online, how does it matter? Only yes, if you are for the first time reading something on a platform which you have not heard of earlier, then people ask the question. Early morning today, I got a message from somebody in the US who saw it on some website. He probably doesn't. Sridevi has passed away. He said, is it fake news or real? This is the only cross-checking that they want. Okay, thank you.